Welcome to this series of conversations celebrating the 25th anniversary of our Digital Leadership Report. We're going to be talking all about technology in this session. And to do that, I've got two experts, Jim, the General Manager EMEA for Intuit Mailchimp, and Jeevan, make sure I get this right because it's a new title, Head of Government Affairs at Phillips.
Yeah, that's right.
How new? It's this week new, right?
It is this week new, yeah.
Well, look, technology, it's a fairly broad subject, but let's get into the meaty stuff straight away. And I'm going to ask you this question, Jim. Data is everything to technology companies, so it's fairly surprising then to see that only a quarter of respondents feel that they are effective or very effective at using data to generate insights. What barriers are there to unlocking value from data?
Well, firstly, I'd say I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
It's the perennial struggle of any organization from SMB all the way up to major enterprise. How do I make sense of the data that sits within my organization? How do I get that data? Where do I store it? How do I access it? How do I use it to generate meaningful insights? From a marketing technology perspective, which is the world I come from, it's incredibly prevalent as a challenge, mainly because two reasons. Software bloat is an incredibly significant challenge. Typically a mid-market or small business would have 14 different platforms running their business with data sat in each one of those disparate systems. They're difficult to connect. It's really challenging for them to talk to each other. And when it comes to marketing, a business would typically run 5 or 6 different marketing platforms alone just to engage with their customers. So if you think about the challenge of connecting that data together, I'm not surprised that a lot of businesses find it challenging to get insights from data because it's not sat all in one easily accessible place. The second element to this is, even if we can get insights, what can we do about it? How do we make them actionable? So it's all very well to get information and insights from the data we are able to get access to, but then what do we do about it? How do we use it to make decisions and engage with our customers in a meaningful way?
You're working with the medical community.
Yes.
Data is incredibly important to them, especially when facing off against government. Just listening to Jim's comments there, is that what you're seeing echoed in that community?
Yeah, absolutely, and I absolutely agree with kind of Jim's initial laying out of the challenges. So you know that I work for Phillips, and Phillips is an interesting company because we used to be a very well-known household brand in terms of lots of appliances. We are now a health tech company. That's all we do, right? So we focus on health tech, and therefore using health data is really important to us and how it's used and getting value out of it. I think there is absolutely a sensitivity around health data compared to other forms of data, and so a big part of this is actually around trust. Trust in the system, trust in the providers, trust from the patients. So I think that is something we shouldn't lose sight of as part of one of the challenges. I think one of the really important things we've found in terms of unlocking data is actually what are you using it for? What, as you say, what are the actionable insights you're going to develop from this? And just looking at the journey we've come from in recent times and how we've been challenged, if we look at healthcare professionals, they don't necessarily have the bandwidth to be able to focus on this when they've got waiting lists and burnout and lots of other things that are going on right now. We need to make it easy for them to be able to use that data. And that's why we work in collaboration, in partnership with a lot of NHS trusts. But we also have to lead, and that's why we work with government. Because government has to also help health tech or health care to be able to work with that data.
Just out of interest, Jim, you were speaking at the Labour conference a week or so ago.
I was, yeah.
In terms of trust and that collaboration between public and private, was that something that was, I would assume it would be on the agenda, was it something that you were talking about?
We weren't talking about it in our session. We were talking about how governments can support and empower SMBs and entrepreneurs to grow, but they're all intertwined, right? So the idea that data as a commodity is incredibly powerful and important is true. The consumer knows that, right? And as a result, they are very wary of who they provide it to and who they give it to. So a strategy which engenders trust in your audience or your consumer or your customer is vital for you to be able to get that information in the first place.
If we're talking about customers and consumers, one word that often gets paired with that is excellence.
Yes.
We all want customer excellence. It's interesting as well, and looking at the stats, the survey talks about the perception of achieving digital excellence has declined. So now just 37% of organizations believe they have achieved excellence. It's got to be a concern when you're dealing with, perhaps, with customers. But what do you think digital excellence actually looks like?
So that's a really good question, because I think we all challenge ourselves around this all the time. So just looking at context, the pandemic, so healthcare has probably been one of the slower adopters of tech innovation compared to a number of other sectors. We saw the pandemic where we saw this massive transformation in use of tech, use of innovation, and now we're in that post-pandemic period where that's a continued pressure. So when we look at that, we're looking at actually what do our customers need in order to achieve digital excellence. And actually for us as a supplier, it's about creating and underpinning a kind of an environment where we provide open ecosystems to allow the exchange of data. But I think it's also about layering, because we're providing it to our consumers who are primarily healthcare providers. They're providing an element of that to their consumers who are patients. And we have to make sure that's seamless, because actually when you're a patient, you want to be able to have that data go back up and down the chain seamlessly. And what we do in terms of providing digital excellence is enable that collaboration and enable that transfer.
Look, I'm afraid we can't have a conversation with technology these days without mentioning AI. So big spoiler about this, but cloud. Cloud is the technology that's actually generating the most ROI for organizations today. There is investment in pilot projects where we're looking at technology on the bleeding edge, but what do leaders need to do to actually unlock the ROI from some of those technologies that we're hearing on the hype cycle with regards to AI and quantum computing?
Yeah, it is the elephant in a lot of rooms at the moment, isn't it? And at Intuit, we made a big bet about 5 years ago that AI, generative AI, would be one of, if not the most significant advances in technology in the history of everything. And what we talk about is not the if, not the when, but the how generative AI will unlock the potential of business, right? And firstly, business leaders need to embrace and understand that this is happening now, and understand that AI is a powerful force for innovation, productivity, to enhance the skills and capability of humans, right? It's an incredibly powerful way to drive huge gains in productivity and efficiency. And investing in AI, Gen AI, with that in mind, you can proliferate and amplify the skills of your team. So think that the mindset with which you approach these tools, particularly AI, is key to helping you unlock their value.
I'd imagine as head of government affairs, this is exactly the kind of conversation you're going to be having with some people in fairly important positions of power. Do you think they understand what's going on at the minute?
I think they do. In November, the government is, in November, the government's hosting the first global summit on the safe use of AI across all sectors. And I think that recognises the Prime Minister's statement not so long ago about making the UK the home of kind of AI innovation. So I think that's a huge call out to all of us to make sure that this is a friendly place to bring your startups, bring your tech, and develop AI. I think one of the things we're seeing as one of the bigger organizations is we need to partner. We don't own all the innovation around AI, so we create platforms to allow AI companies to come and provide their services to our customers and make that, it's all about that interoperability and making it an open environment.
Now, something slightly less sexy to talk about, but improving operational efficiency and developing products and services, two of the top business priorities coming out of the survey for technology. Is that possible within one strategy to have both improving products and services and improving operational efficiency?
Well, of course it is. In fact, it is one strategy. So for us, there's no way to separate the two. Like for us, operational efficiency is about people, processes, and technology, and making sure we link across all these domains and allowing us to drive kind of productivity in healthcare specifically, but I think it applies to all sectors. The biggest challenge right now is around people. It's around, an interesting stat, I think something like 40% of the healthcare workforce is over the age of 55. There is a cliff edge coming in terms of workforce, and we are going to have to deal with that. We have more demand, we have more expectation, and so we need to use everything more efficiently. And that leads to how we develop products and services, because as an innovator, we can develop lots and lots of different kind of tech. But I'd like to say something about that, which actually really means a lot to me. Technology is just one part of the puzzle. For me, there are three other parts. They are enabling clinical staff to change the way they work, enabling regulators to allow changes, and that the AI is a big part of that, and actually allowing there to be a sensible financial landscape that incentivizes the right behaviors. If you don't have the other three working, there's no point pushing on technology because it won't be adopted. So my call out to everybody working in tech is to make sure, don't just develop the tech, also make sure you look at all these other aspects as part of it.
Jeevan, Jim, thank you for taking the time, coming here and being part of the celebration of our 25th year of the DLR.
Brilliant, thank you.
Pleasure.